Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gayle Carson, that's Gayle, Gayle Carson 13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. My guest today is Dr. Sheri. She's a visionary, best-selling author and sought-after physician leader. She's a board-certified occupational and environmental medicine physician, public health expert, and a breast cancer survivor. After breast cancer treatment left her disabled from lymphedema in her right upper extremity, stripping her of her lifelong dream of being a practicing physician, she reinvented herself and went on to become a national public figure, professional speaker, and entrepreneur owner of her own healthcare consulting business. She's been a catalyst for transformation in the space of cultural and workplace diversity for more than 2 decades. She launched her TV show, The Live, today on CAN TV, Channel 21, as well as her podcast, Where Medicine Meets Ministry. Dr. Sheri talks faith and facts. Dr. Sheri, we've got a lot in common. I am a 4-time breast cancer survivor and am on chemo right now and had lymphedema in my arm, but learned to massage it so that I never had to wear a sleeve again. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Gayle. I hate that we share those two things in common, but grateful for the sisterhood that have us both alive today and able to share this special time together.
Exactly. Well, what would you say would be your advice to someone wanting to enter the healthcare profession as a physician?
Wow. Okay. Well, I can tell you that my advice over these past 27 years that I've been a physician has changed. But one of the things that has stayed the same, and that is I would tell anyone who is interested in getting into the healthcare field today, be passionate about it. I mean, it has to resonate with your soul and be one of the only options, if you will, of how your life will proceed, because you will face so many challenges along the way that if your passion really isn't in it, if you're looking at it as a job or as a this is what I'm doing for now kind of deal, it'll knock you off your feet pretty fast. But if your passion is in it and it is something that you can envision you doing anything else in your life, then you stand a real good chance of making it through all of the roadblocks and being very successful in what you set out to do. So one, make sure that the passion is there and make sure that it's not just a job, but it is an avocation, not just a vocation, but an avocation, something that you really feel like you can't live without. And then I would tell you to also be flexible. Be flexible in how you see yourself in healthcare. There are some individuals that, say, well, I'm going to be a doctor. And they get so focused that they don't see the signs that, well, being a physician really isn't your calling. But maybe being an individual with an MBA that has some skills in healthcare can really make you the person that is there to advocate change from a policy perspective, not necessarily from a patient hands-on perspective. So be flexible as you get into the healthcare field and truly understand where your gifts and talents may lie, because they may not be on the path that you originally set yourself out for.
Well, I can tell you, Dr. Sheri, that I can't even imagine people going into any profession especially medicine, without a passion. I mean, I have been passionate for 60 years about what I do, and I can't imagine anybody not being passionate. How can you go to work every day and not be passionate about what you do? Now, I understand. I mean, if you have to make a living and you have to feed your kids and you have to pay your rent and you may have to work at something you don't like to begin with, that I get. But if you're really in a profession of any kind and not be passionate about it, that just, I don't understand that. So so what do you wish you had known when you started out in all of this?
Ooh, I wish I had known, and I wish I had a crystal ball for how the business of healthcare was going to change. Um, I'm one of those individuals who is extremely blessed in that I ended up in a field of medicine that allowed me to wear a variety of hats. So it did not necessarily restrict me to purely clinical hands-on practice. But I had an opportunity to be a subject matter expert where I did expert witness testimony. I did medical record reviews. I created entire policies and procedure manuals and handbooks for different employers. And so because I had such a diverse medical background with the field of medicine that I chose, it allowed me, one, to meet and network with individuals that, had I chosen, say, primary care and was strictly in the office day after day, merely seeing my patients and being surrounded by my staff, I would have missed out on those networking opportunities, one. Two, I would have missed out on the opportunity to practice medicine that was not necessarily clinically based, meaning patient to patient care day in, day out. But it gave me an opportunity to deal with higher level population health matters. And so because of that, as the field of medicine began to change, has become much more of a business, and unfortunately ran by MBAs who do not have a clinical background, individuals in the insurance industry that want to create policies and certain standards and force physicians' hands to only order certain diagnostic testing and limit their professional opinion and judgment. And those are individuals that are making the rules based off of dollars, not necessarily based off on what's best for the patient. And we as physicians are always taught, first, do no harm. And we're not looking at what the dollar signs are behind it. We're looking at do no harm, and the patient comes first. And so had I known how things would change, I really wonder if my passion would have still been there, because there would have been this element of uncertainty and this more of an element of anxiety and fear, just merely based on the years you put into becoming a physician, the amount of money you put into becoming a physician. And had I known that those things were going to be kind of shaky down the line, I don't think I would have necessarily wholeheartedly made that type of investment. But since for individuals that are listening now, one, truly evaluate the landscape of the healthcare medical field right now before you jump in and leap, and understand and know the business of medicine. When I went to medical school, we weren't taught business. We were taught patient care. Right now, I think someone going into the field, becoming a physician, if you don't know the business, man, you will do yourself such a disservice.
Well, that's true. I know certainly in the case of where I live, a lot of practices have been bought by corporations, and they have 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes more offices that they manage, and it's very clinical, very analytical, very dry. The old, I'm of an age when I still remember doctors came to your home and took care of you. So it's really interesting. It's almost like a factory line. So what is your unique skill that you think has helped you become successful? Is it your versatility? Is it your personality? What is it?
Wow, if I could say one thing, um, I honestly believe the best answer to encompass all of the adjectives that are running through my brain right now, it really would be my trust in the Lord. And because I trust in Him, when I get certain leadings, when I lose my peace about a certain direction that I was intending to take, once new information becomes available that I didn't have before, I've learned to trust that inner voice, trust my gut. And so it has caused me to avoid um, certain opportunities that possibly could have led to my demise, where I would have looked at it and said, "Oh, great!" Somewhere I had that unsettling in the pit of my stomach, that loss of peace, and I didn't take it. And to other individuals, they thought would have seen it and said, "Oh my God, why would you turn down something like that?" And again, I'm not driven by money. I'm not driven by fame. I'm not driven by success. What I am driven by is leaving a legacy. I am driven by waking up in the morning joyful, looking forward to the impact that I'm going to have on that day. And knowing without a shadow of a doubt when I go to bed at night, I'm going to have a smile on my face because I helped at least one person. That's what I'm driven by. And if at the end of the day that is brought in revenue that takes me above and beyond the necessities of life that I need, that is great. But my reward is by being a blessing to other individuals. So I would say trusting in the Lord and trusting in His leading has really helped me, because it's caused me to avoid some pitfalls, and it has led me into some opportunities that has really progressed my branding and have progressed in my healthcare consulting business.
It's so funny because I've probably read or listened in the last couple of weeks to more things that say trust your gut. And that's basically what you're saying, you know? And
Exactly.
we can analyze things to death, but, you know, your gut is a very real thing. So it's something you should pay attention to. So,
Absolutely.
you know, I would ask you, um, but let's talk about some of the hurdles that you've personally faced. How did you overcome them? We know breast cancer was one. We know that lymphedema was one. I had very bad lymphedema in my right arm, and I wore a sleeve until I wore it out. And then I ordered another one. But on a plane, believe it or not, I sat next to a massage therapist who worked with cancer victims, breast cancer victims, and she showed me how to massage my palm and my fingers, and she said the swelling will go down. Well, I didn't necessarily believe her, but believe it or not, it did. And I never put on the other sleeve that I ordered. So what are some of the hurdles that you faced, not only with the cancer and lymphedema, but anything else in your life?
Ooh, well, certainly the cancer and the lymphedema were huge, because the lymphedema stripped me of my lifelong dream of being a practicing physician. I wanted to be a physician ever since I was 2 years old. And so after 16 years of practice, all of a sudden, I was taught manual lymphatic drainage while I went through 16 weeks of physical therapy to control my lymphedema initially. And then after we got it down as far as it would go, now I'm still forced to wear compression garments 24/7 to control the swelling. So having to reinvent myself was a huge hurdle, because now I'm not a practicing physician, but I had two children that, they had this insane expectation that they should eat every day.
Isn't that
And so me being
something?
their mother, I know. These little people that we bring into the world.
Right.
And so that was a huge hurdle for me to reinvent myself so that they could continue with the plans that we talked about when they were, little babies, for them to go to college and for me to help them, and, for me to go on and live my life. And so reinventing myself was a hurdle. But in the process of reinventing myself, One hurdle that I had to overcome was dealing with grief and depression. And I, as a physician, people just have this expectation that you, as a doctor, oh, you got it. Sometimes, they think that we're kind of invincible to all of these chronic illnesses that affect other people. And then sometimes people feel like, oh, well, you should be able to recognize your grief and be able to deal with it accordingly because, you help patients all the time. But part of that hurdle was people weren't allowing me to be a patient. And I did go on that journey from physician to patient, like I wrote in my book. And because they did not appreciate that, they also weren't open to giving me the support that I needed during that time when I was having the realization. And so I had to take a step back and do some soul searching, because initially when I found out that I couldn't practice clinical medicine, I was depressed. And I looked back and I had not properly grieved my diagnosis. I didn't grieve the loss of half my right breast, loss of my hair, loss of a marriage at the time, loss of my mom while I was going through chemotherapy. I was just pushing forward. And so I had to take a step back and realize that there were certain decisions in my life I wasn't making because I hadn't dealt with my grief. I was in a point of, I was stagnant. I couldn't go forward and I couldn't go back. And then some of the decisions that I did make, they weren't necessarily the right ones because I wasn't in the right frame of mind to even gather the right information, to do my proper due diligence in searching everything out. So I had to take a step back and actually go into counseling, deal with my grief properly, deal with the depression properly. And once I got over that hurdle, then things began to open up for me. I began to develop and create a new vision and a new plan for my life. I developed a new way of thinking. I understood the difference between joy and contentment and where I lie in that continuum. And so getting over that hurdle and reestablishing my value again, it allowed me to help others cross their hurdles and to see their value and to help them with their struggles as well.
I know that mindset plays such a big role in how we live our life and how we deal with things. And you've really just proved it right there. So what is your biggest challenge now with your specific role right now? And how are you going to overcome it?
My biggest challenge now in the current framework of industry that we're dealing with, I am a professional public speaker. I went on, one of the things that I did to reinvent myself was to become a certified speaking professional, which you and I also have in common, and to speak internationally as well as right here in the U.S. Very successful over the past decade. However, in our new framework, a lot of the live events that I initially had on schedule this year canceled. Right now, I'm looking at 2 events that are hanging on by a thread in October. And so now what I found I had to do is, how do I set myself apart from the other professional speakers who also have great looking websites, who have also authored a best-selling book, and they have the 500 plus keynotes under their belt. How do I set myself apart? And what I've done is I've become a certified virtual presenter, or certified virtual speaker rather, and have learned how to present virtually. What does that mean to the audience? How can I maintain and gather and garner their engagement early on and keep it without having individuals who are, turn off video and now they're answering emails and what have you. So doing that has, one, given me an additional credential, but it's also opened up doors for me that has set me apart. And so now I'm beginning to get more notifications now of, hey, we'd like for you to speak at our upcoming virtual summit, or we'd like for you to do a virtual webinar. We'd like for you to work with us for a virtual PSA. And I really believe that's come because I have gotten this certification as part of my, and it was, all I did was, it's not like I sent out a press release about it. I just added it on to my email signature, put it out there on social media, just a one-time deal, and things have started to open up. So that getting speaking engagements has been a challenge in this new environment, but getting my certified virtual speaking certification, it's helping.
Well, that's wonderful. And I know that they do have the certification now for the virtual presenter. And, it's interesting because I just got notified yesterday that one of my speaking engagements, which was supposed to be in April, I think, is now being scheduled for September. And I wrote her back and I said, I can't believe that you're doing this. I said, I know that primarily most of the speakers are probably where you are, which was San Diego, but I'm not getting on a plane till there's a vaccine. And so what I did, I emailed her today and I said I would be glad to do a pre-recorded Zoom that she could present to the attendees before they come to the conference. But in my head, I really think the conference is going to be canceled again because the rates are going up again. But, it is what it is, and we all have to deal with it. Well, Sheri, we've got about 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure that people know, A, where to find you. I also know you've got a gift for our listeners. So why don't, and then also the title of your book and where they can get it. So you got a lot of things to tell our listeners. Start with where can they find you?
Well, one, they can find me at my website. Website is www.drsherimd.com. That's DRSHERIMD.com. I have written a bestseller. It is my memoir, and it's entitled When Everything Changed, My Journey from Physician to Patient. And they can find that also at my website, and it is also sold on Amazon, so they can certainly find it there. And a freebie that I would like to give to everyone, and hopefully you will have the link up, is it's the 4 tips on how to live during this process of my transition and my renaissance and reinventing of myself. I heard a voice that said live, and I didn't understand it at first because I thought that was what I was doing. But I really realized that prior to my diagnosis and treatment, I had been existing, helping thousands of people, but existing in my own self. And live came to me, and live for me means to love myself and others, to inspire those around me, to voice my dreams and ambitions, and finally to enjoy life. And I want individuals to know how to live today and every day. And as the queen of how to let go and live, I've written a blueprint, but I want to give 4 quick tips on how an individual can live every day in their life and pass that on to other individuals.
Yes, I do have the link, and we will put it up because I've sent it to our producer, etc. It's a long one, Sheri, but hopefully we'll get it right, and they'll be able to go to your website and find out more about you, and also be able to take advantage of your philosophy. And it's true. I mean, we all go through horrible, horrible things that we have to deal with and work with, and when you go through what you go through to become a physician, which we all know is long and tiring and expensive, and to have that stripped away, it's enough to get you into a depressive state. And so, to know and admit that you went through it, but you got through it, and you got through it by these tips on how to live. So I firmly believe in what you're talking about, and how you present yourself, and what your mode of operations and operandi is, because you are providing something really, really important to people out there who, they let just a little thing stop them or a little thing depress them. And, you've been through a lot, I've been through a lot, but we keep going. That's the key. We keep going. So if you
Yes,
want
we
to
do.
find out more about Dr. Sheri, remember it's DR, not spelled out, DRSHERIMD.com. Her book is there, and her free gift is also there. And I want to invite all of you listening to either go to my website if you want to check me out, spunkyoldbra.com. If you want to see my courses, they're at sobuniversity.com. And for those of you who are over 50, I have a Facebook group which is free for women over 50, and that's SOB Virtual Club. So if you want to join any of those, we would love to have you. Dr. Sheri, thank you so much for being with us today. We loved having you, and good luck to you in the future.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Hi, this is Dr. Gayle, and I wanted you to know I have a whole bunch of other things to offer you. If you go to spunkyoldbra.com, you will see an array of SOB stuff for sale and all our latest products and additions. If you're interested in getting on TV, I have a brand new course, Get on TV. And if you want to start your own business, you'll want my SOB Guide to Business Success. I know you'll love them all. I guarantee it.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gaylecarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbra.com to see the resources I have for you.